Hey guys, Keith Engel for TGI Sports Talks weekly vlog with my TGI Sports Talk weekly vlog. Great to have you guys with me. I promise I won't take up too much of your time today. It's just been an emotional week, right? With everything that's gone on after the Bills-Bengals or during the Bills-Bengals game and up to this point. And some of the vitriol that was kind of hitting social media and other sources through this week. And, you know, I don't know that people were right or wrong, but there were so many things that went on. It's starting with the injury itself. Listen, we don't know what brought this on. We still don't know whether it was a freak hit to the chest. That, again, I don't remember exactly what the term is. I'm sorry. I'm not a medical doctor, and I don't have the memory recall for what this was called, but there is a medical instance where this could have happened and sent his heart out of rhythm and stopping it. Or we don't know if it was a pre-existing condition. We'll find out about all of this going forward. It was a tragic scene on the field that night. It was scary. I've seen lots of things, guys. I go back to Darryl Stingley being paralyzed in a preseason game by Jack Tatum and being carted off the field, and the game continued. Mike Utley, Dennis Byrd, Brazier, the Steelers safety. I think he was a safety. Lots of things where the games continued. So there was a lot of confusion about what was going to happen, right? Did the NFL handle this correctly in the immediate moments after this or during this? I don't know. I think there was confusion. I feel the NFL made it worse by coming out the next day and saying there was never any intention to continue this game. I think they could have said that differently. I think it was obvious to me watching events unfold. And again, none of this conversation has anything to do with whether we care about Damar Hamlin or not and his well-being at that point in time and going forward. I have lots of empathy for what happened there. But the NFL saying the next day there was never any intention to continue. I think there was every intention to continue based on players' actions. And that could have been just a reflex action because they're used to seeing guys to a certain point, not like this, where it looked like a guy may have dropped dead on the field. They looked like they were getting ready to play. And it seemed to me from the TV broadcast and what they were hearing from the people in touch with the league officials that they were planning on continuing to play until the coaches got together with the officials and said, we're leaving. We're taking our teams off the field emotionally. They're not prepared to play this game any further, nor should they have at that point. They should not have continued that game with what was going on. So mistake number one in this was the confusion that was left for the TV networks, for people tweeting, throughout this time frame about the game continuing or not. With this type, and again, the NFL needs some better protocol going forward. They need to be prepared for these type of instances and know when and when not to stop the game and not continue it. In this case, they made the right decision. The coaches, give them all the credit in the world, and they're getting all the credit in the world for the way they handled this situation to handle their teams. I think in the aftermath, as this was happening too, it was only natural. Like if people were sitting at home and if people are being honest with themselves, they'll admit that their minds drifted to, well, what now? If they don't play this game, what happens to the game? Doesn't mean they didn't care about Damar Hamlin. I thought the same thing as I was sitting there in shock, quite frankly, watching this unfold with my wife. My thoughts moved to what now? Hopefully he lives. God, hopefully he lives. What if the worst happens? What happens to this game? This game can't be made up. Having that conversation, it doesn't mean you don't care about Damar Hamlin. Again, Skip Bayless, again, it's hard to defend a lot of the things that he says. I think he's gotten a tough rap this week. The tweet he put out before the one that was really ripped this week about continuing the game and how can they not, and playoff relevance and whatever else is in that. And again, the question was just asked that many people had probably in their mind as they were concerned and praying for Damar Hamlin. I was. And the tweet before that talked about his concern for the player. So there's, and in the moment, and again, there was a reality that regardless of the outcome here, which thank God, Damar Hamlin is making great progress and still has a ways to go, obviously, but it certainly didn't look good. From the outside, I would have said the worst had happened. The NFL was going to have to address this at some point. I mean, they weren't going to cancel the season. Presidents have died, and we haven't canceled seasons. Other tragedies have happened in the world. 9/11 happened. And then again, that happened in the beginning of a season, and they postponed games and pushed the season back and whatnot. But there wasn't really the ability to do that this time. There could have been some wiggle room. You could have gotten rid of the week between the Super Bowl and whatnot, but that would have left just these two teams playing this weekend. Probably wasn't ever anything that could happen. And again, back to my original point here, getting back to playing games had to be addressed at some point. Not right then and there while he's laying on the field. I understand that. But it was the elephant in the room, and the NFL would have to start addressing it Tuesday a little bit, and they did wait quite a while, and probably with good reason. I think what makes this all easier now to have these conversations is we know that he's making progress. We know that his first words, he didn't speak them, obviously he wrote them, was who won the game. I think that takes a lot of pressure off his teammates. First of all, his teammates are happy that he's better. I think it takes the pressure off the players going out to play this week and all the teams. I think it takes the pressure off the fans a little bit to get back to a little bit of football, as well as continuing to pray for Hamlin. Damar Hamlin. So I don't think it makes you a bad person to be worried about the player and be wondering what's going to happen going forward. Now with the NFL in trying to pick up the pieces of this, I mean, I think they did the right thing in calling this game a no contest. I don't know that they did a great job. Oh, I got a couple other comments too. I guess I'll backtrack in a second. I don't know they did a great job of really shooting down some of the rumors, some of the crazier things that were going to happen. One of them being they were going to add extra playoff teams. There was no reason to do that, none whatsoever. Eliminate the buys. That wouldn't have solved the problem by letting two teams in that were undeserving, who didn't have anything to do with this tragedy, but were going to benefit from it. That made no sense. The options that they're weighing now will depend on the outcomes of the games today. So that adding an eighth playoff team is off the board. There's only a couple of things that really are coming into play now, and that's, the seedings in the AFC between Kansas City, Buffalo, and Cincinnati, mostly for the number one seed and home field and who gets to buy and this type of thing. And then the AFC North, where the Ravens technically could still have won the division. And there'll be things they vote on today with some scenarios that they'll put into play this weekend. There was an option where they were, and I don't think it's still on the board, where they would give the team that did end up with the number one seed, to say was Kansas City, because they played one more game. I mean, you could go by winning percentage, right? But Kansas City still would have the number one seed if they were to win this weekend, and Buffalo would have had it if they won out. We don't know what would have happened, though. So they were going to give the number one seed the opportunity to choose being the home team throughout the playoffs or having the bye. Maybe. Is it fair? I don't know. Nothing's really going to be fair. Whatever they decide here wouldn't be fair. adding an 8th playoff team would not have been fair. Many teams playing for that 8th spot, let's say, or the 7th spot now. It wouldn't be fair to them necessarily. It wouldn't be fair to some teams that thought they were eliminated last week, but may have been still alive under that new approach. Wouldn't have been fair to them. It wouldn't have been fair to a lot of teams. So I think the NFL, it's done okay in this. I think they'll come up with something here. It's not going to be perfect, guys. Don't get angry. I really hope they don't play at a neutral site. I don't want to see that. I do hope whoever comes through this with the number 1 seeds, their fans understand. Whoever doesn't get the number 1 seed, their fans understand. And I hope we can move on from this. I do hope Damar gets healthy. I hope he can resume his playing career. I really do. He's alive, though. That's number 1. That's the best thing. He's getting better, and hopefully he'll continue to get better. And for you people, and I will tell you this too, my team plays the Bills this weekend. I would rather be playing with a chance to get into the playoffs. They need to win. I'd rather be playing any other team in the league, and not because I think the Bills will be playing with this extra emotion and want to win for their teammate, which they will, and that could affect them in a good way or a bad way. It all depends on the people involved. I'd rather be playing anybody else because I root for my team, and I do it vigorously, and I do it with great emotion. And that will be down a notch this week because of the situation that's unfolded. I want to win. I'll root for my team to win. And I hope people take that the right way. I'll be watching with a bunch of Buffalo fans. I can tell you that right now. And listen, for some of you people too who think, I heard some crazy stuff on social media this week. Anybody who is concerned about what would happen going forward with the games, it does not mean they didn't care about Damar Hamlin and his well-being. They did, probably including Skip Bayless. I hate to back up Skip Bayless because I think he's, a blowhard for the most part. But I think if you look at the total context of everything he tweeted that night, he wasn't thinking anything other people weren't thinking, and it wasn't wrong. I will address one other thing. I saw some posts from people that were posting about the outpouring of prayers for Damar Hamlin and the league encouraging people to pray for Damar Hamlin. And this may be part of a larger vlog later on. I don't know. But they talked about how that was hypocritical of the NFL because they chased Tim Tebow out of the league because he would Tebow after touchdowns. If you remember, he would kneel in the end zone and say a little prayer and point up to the sky. It was a bit controversial at the time. I didn't care what he did. But there's one reason Tim Tebow wasn't blackballed from the NFL because of his Tebowing. He bounced around the league from Denver to the Jets, spent some time with the Patriots. Teams gave him a chance. He couldn't play quarterback at the NFL level. That's why Tim Tebow's out of the league, not because of his religious beliefs, not because he Tebowed in the end zone. So please stop with that nonsense, okay? And, those of you who are hating on people who are caring about football as well as the well-being of this young man, you can do both things. I don't know about you, but I multitask every day in my life, both professionally and personally. And I can worry about people. When my mother was sick, when my mother passed away, my focus was on her and my family. But it didn't mean there weren't other things that had to be dealt with at the same time. Life, unfortunately, moves on. And these games were going to be played, and it had to be addressed. And showing concern or asking questions about that, you should not have been painted as not caring about the human being involved in this tragedy. We'll still call it a tragedy, but it's not as tragic as it could have been, obviously. So we we hope and pray that he continues to get better. We will still also root hard for our Patriots to beat the Bills this weekend, and show the proper respect for that entire organization that they deserve. They've been through a lot this week, not knowing for 3 days basically whether their friend and teammate would live or die. So again, you can do both things in life, and please stop judging people who don't react to things exactly the way you do. It's not fair. Come on, you're better than that. We're all better than that. Every person, there was nobody rooting against Damar Hamlin if they were wondering about what would happen with their team playing football that weekend. Their timing, some of these people could have been better, but it doesn't mean they don't care about the player. I know I do. Keith Engel for TGI Sports Talk. Have a great day. Okay?